Welcome to Shorty SuperCoach. Hope you guys are going well out there. Going to take a look at my side. I must admit, the interest is waning a touch. It's the buys. It's just feeling like it's just a tough stage of the season. I'm not going to lie. The main thing I'm enjoying at the moment is probably the lives on a Wednesday night and just the trading with the view to finishing this side off and getting some joy. It's been a rough slog of a season. It's been a tough one. And it's obviously, not the rank we were after. But, we'll go through my side in a minute and just walk through a few things. But I've got no real gauge on how I went. But Shorty was on the decks today too. Had a bit of a lesson in the old DJ mixing. So, thanks to my mate who gave me a little tutorial. If he's watching, I know he sometimes tunes in. But ages ago, I bought some decks, right? I thought it'd be cool, like a fun little outlet, bit of a party trick. Gave it a crack, did some YouTube tutorials, and was like, this is way over my head. Like, this is more complicated than I thought. And it's really good to actually be stepped through it, and it seems like a bit of fun. I must admit, there was I was still not exactly sure what's going on, but as we went along, I sort of was like, okay, I see what we're going for here. I see what we're trying to do with these transitions and getting the BPM going on. So we'll see. Could be a work in progress. It was certainly more complex than I thought, but it was fun. And I reckon Shorty's going to get on the decks, try to do it once a week, once a fortnight, try and stick to this hobby. So we'll see how we go. But let's have a look at a different hobby and probably an unsuccessful one. But okay, so we scored 2,113. Moved up in ranks, which, we'll take that every day of the week. But also not exactly jumping out and shouting out how good a jump up the rank from 30,000th to 28,000th is. And obviously the real killer is Marcus Bont and Pally. Look, he scores 177, right? It's just felt like a year where and I know it's the risk you run when you don't bring premiums in either from the start or straight away. I know these guys are capable of it, but it's just been a year where I've just felt a smidgen off in the timings. Like last week I thought, okay, I've poorly timed a couple, but even just bringing in guys like Dacos or bringing in Merritt, I've just bringing in Sarong. Just the timings of it. Some of those have produced good scores in the end, but just that initial give or take, I've been a step off or a step here, it just hasn't quite sort of worked if you catch my drift. We know he's capable of 180s and that sort of thing, but today he scored a once a year sort of score, maybe twice. We did the numbers on the live. I think last year he went 150 plus 5 times, the year before 6, so it's rare, maybe once a month, but a 177, that's a once a year really. So, look, it does hurt. It would have been nice for him to string together just an okay score, just a 140 or a 130 from that 66 to really come down in price, but that's okay. We'll be able to get him nonetheless at a much better price than we first anticipated. So, Holmes was pretty good in what was a disaster of a day for the Cats. Sinclair just couldn't find the footy, particularly in the third quarter. Wanganeen Miller was just dominating. Sinclair couldn't quite get into it. Dale may have hurt a couple on the captaincy, not his best score. Wanganeen Miller, there you go, fantastic operator. I think he'll be a guy that we pick for many years. He was just so smooth. Sheasel, pretty solid. And Whitfield, that hurts, He's got the bye, so hopefully he doesn't actually miss a game. He should hopefully be right with the concussion. But it kind of hurt because I thought he came back on. Seemed like he was fine. And then, ended up getting subbed off. So, again, bit of a killer. It's not so much the killer because a lot of people will have him. And if you're going to do it, probably on the bye rounds where that score gets cancelled out, it's not the worst to happen. But, it's always nice to miss those scores. Not just because you miss them, but you'll be able to pick him up at 450 now. So they're just a little... I just feel like I haven't quite got those rubber the green ones this year. I've made plenty of mistakes, don't get me wrong. Some poor selections, of course. But it's just been a few little... do I wait a week here? Do I wait a week there? Do I go this guy? Do I go that guy? It just hasn't quite happened for me. But Anderson was fantastic. Butters, Sarong, Dacos. Look at that midfield. Just go bang there. Fantastic stuff. Merritt, 92. he's struggling. He is struggling, so I'll take a 92 because I didn't think he played that well. But Luke Davies-Uniacke, I thought, did play well. 108, we'll take that from him. Johnson didn't quite find anywhere near as much of the footy as before. And Will Ashcroft, he's proving a class act. I just kind of feel like Sheasel, Dacos, Will Ashcroft, like these guys, I just feel like would pick them for the next 5 to 10 years. Wanganeen Miller, I think the next 5 years we just pick them. They're just guns. Wasn't really a day for the ruckman. We got the Sarong VC, which is very, very handy, and even more handy because quite a few probably would have gone. Cherry, maybe Dale. A lot would have gone Bont and Pelly, so that would have been even better, but did pretty well. And the McRae hold certainly repaid the faith there, which is great. Martin, solid, but yeah, as we say, was not ideal. Or not as good. He was pretty good, not as good as he has been in recent weeks. Same said for Smith. Honestly, I'll take 93 from Warner because I thought he was atrocious. I don't know how he scored 93 from his 17 touches and Vicentini the 36. That really stinks. So probably, yeah, it was one of those ones where I was trying to find every dollar I possibly could. If I was chasing points, yeah, bringing in Horn Francis for Vicentini would have been the play. But, in the end, Horn Francis, he goes down 19K. And Vicentini, probably goes down nearly as much. He goes down 12. So, it didn't really work. I was kind of hopeful that maybe Vicentini just plateaus and trying to save 20K here and there because times are pretty tight. But, so look, I think this week we've really got no real option other than to go, like it just simply has to be Vicentini and now it has to be old mate Bontempelli as well. So let's have a look at this. Let's go Horn Francis here, and it's going to be a little tricky because my initial plans were probably catering for a bit more of a drop, and it's really got to be Johnson, but we're not going to be able to afford Bont. So I think what we'll do is we'll bring in McCarthy. We'll take Bont there, and then we'll bring in McCarthy. Get rid of a couple of bombers, and then, yeah. So that's what we'll be left with, I reckon, which probably wanted a bit more. I wanted at least 100K on the table because we still need to upgrade one more player. Probably Dewar or someone like that. It really has to be Dewar. So, and again, like, you really would love to get Sam Darcy in there because he's flying at a really nice price. But I just don't think I can afford it at the moment. So I think that's a rough plan. Obviously, this is just off the cuff, so maybe we'll have a bit further of a look. But at the moment, that's why I think I'm going to go. Let's have a look at a few leagues as well. And I'll also have, we don't always check the footy tipping, but let's have a look at who's winning that. Let's go through the leagues. Well, we won 12. We'll take that. We need to try and just work our way back in a few of these leagues because I'm well out of contention in a lot of them. So a couple of close wins here. The Baggers bragging rights is one that I'd really like to go well in. I'm 13th, but that's a cash league, so I'd really like to climb a bit in that. It's a nice score there from Jordan. Very handy score. Oh, tight win there over. Oh, Cam. That's Cam from work. Oh, it's got him by 9 points. Going to have to let him know about that tomorrow. And then, Ethan's got me by 10 there. That's brutal, man. That's brutal. And then another close one. 8 points over B. So we've knocked off first. So, look, we're staying alive in a few. There's a few leagues we're well and truly out of. How's the footy tipping going? Where are we? Hopefully I'm in the top 20. I'm 5th. Oh, Jesus. Okay, I didn't realise I was going that good. Okay. Maybe I should be shorty super tipping rather than me SuperCoach. Oh, geez, Sammy there tipping the Swans. I was so close to tipping North. I was so close. If Kerner wasn't out, I reckon I would have. And I was close to tipping the Suns as well, so that ended up going in my favour. But, yeah, look, I think Yeah, tough season, isn't it? It is a tough season. Oh, we'll do the votes. Of course, we've got to do the votes, and I have not prepped on this at all. Where's Shorty's MVP? I'm going to put this in camera maybe for the last 6 or so weeks, just so I take away any potential subconscious bias. And what will I do? I reckon, Wanganeen Miller has to be in the mix. You got to respect Sarong with the VC, and an important VC. Dacos bounces back. McRae bounces back nicely. He's been a really good hold. I feel like McRae... Wanganeen Miller is maybe a bit popular. 142 is pretty good. Look, Sarong's the 3 votes. He's definitely 3 because I think a 150 is a bit of a unique skipper is super important. I feel like Nick Dacos just has to be respected. Like a 150 just has to be respected. And look, I'm going to give the 1 to McRae. I feel like Wanganeen Miller is probably a bit stiff there. He scored 11 points extra than him, but I just feel like the hold of McRae and then to repay the faith just trumps him there. So let's do that. I don't reckon Sarong would have polled. He's been... Oh, he did. He did poll a 2. So let's give him the 3. Best on here from Sarong. And he'll jump quite a bit off the back of that. And then we had the 1 vote to McRae, who would have polled earlier in the season. And Nicky Dacos, it probably shows how highly we judge him because he hasn't even polled, has he? So it sort of shows that he's had a bit of a quieter season, but also the standards we hold this bloke to is pretty ridiculous. We'll give Nick the 2 votes there. So Nicky boy comes in with a little 2 voter. There he is. Equal, he's 19th, equal whatever. So, yeah, not much movement for the rucks there. And I tell you what, Pitnet coming in for De Koning or coming alongside De Koning was an absolute killer. So hopefully that changes. Hopefully Carlton losing and the way they played hopefully causes some change. But we'll be relatively right. Rankin will come in. So we'll have, depending on selection, we'll have 1-0 there. Ashcroft, bang, 1. Probably gets dropped. So honestly, we'll actually be touch and go. McCarthy comes in. We might be touch and go in terms of getting a full side next week. It could prove slightly tricky. It might depend if Hall plays or Huswaite plays. I think Warple's going to be back. So we might need a little bit of luck. But, we'll obviously have Bont and McCarthy come in for a couple of guys with the bye. But, I'll be back on Wednesday. Hope you had a good weekend and hope you had a decent week in SuperCoach. And, if you've got any questions, chuck them in the comments. I'll try to get them every Friday. And, of course, Wednesday night we'll go live. Cheers, guys.